Welcome back, everyone, to the Week 26 Explainer. Man, do we have a massive week of developments to get through. We are looking at everything from Nobel laureates shifting labs and entirely new models to massive infrastructure plays and geopolitical cyber attacks. Okay, let's dive into this. We have exactly 13 major AI news items to cover today, and we're going to break them down chronologically so you get the absolute clearest understanding of where the frontier stands right now. To keep things organized, our timeline is structured into 4 key blocks. Section 1 covers talent, medicine, and AI orchestration. Section 2 is all about compute, Hollywood, and workspace AI. Then, Section 3 hits wearables, biotech, and custom chips. Finally, Section 4 wraps up with cures, comebacks, and cyber attacks. Let's get right to it. Section 1, Talent, Medicine, and AI Orchestration. We are seeing an absolute tectonic shift in the AI talent landscape right now. John Jumper, the co-creator of the Nobel Prize-winning AlphaFold model, just announced he's leaving Google DeepMind after 9 years to join Anthropic. And this comes literally days after Gemini co-lead Noam Shazir left Google for OpenAI. While Google has obviously been a pioneer, this 1-2 punch of top-tier talent leaving for its biggest rivals is huge. Jumper's move is especially critical because Google DeepMind's undisputed edge has always been in science. With Jumper heading to Anthropic just ahead of their big June 30th science event, that particular scientific lead is suddenly looking highly contested. Now, what's really interesting about this is the profound real-world impact behind the number 18. Researchers at Boston Children's and Harvard recently took 376 completely unsolved pediatric genetic cases, we're talking absolute dead ends for human specialists, and ran them through OpenAI's O3 Deep Research model. It weighed symptoms against public databases, inheritance patterns, the latest research, and it found 18 confirmed new diagnoses. Actually, in several cases, the diagnosis already existed in another clinic's database, but it had just never reached the local patient records. The medical field has this massive backlog problem, right? Clinicians simply don't have the bandwidth to cross-reference disconnected databases. So this really shows how an AI research model can step in and give these dead-end cases a real shot at answers. Moving over to Japan, Sakana AI just launched a pretty fascinating new approach to hitting frontier-level capabilities. They've introduced Fugu and Ultra. Now, these aren't just standalone models. They are multi-agent orchestration models sitting behind a single API. Basically, they farm out your requests to a pool of different models. Sakana pitched this as a direct hedge against those export controls that recently banned Anthropic's top models in certain regions. But honestly, early reception has been a bit mixed. Users are reporting that the performance doesn't quite hit the frontier benchmarks Sakana claimed, and there's definitely some skepticism about the underlying model mix and how much this actually costs to run. It's a super creative workaround, but for sure one we'll have to keep a close eye on. Section 2, Compute, Hollywood, and Workspace AI. So, SpaceX's Colossus data centers, which were originally built just to train Grok, are rapidly turning into massive rental moneymakers. Check this out. SpaceX just signed a deal with AI startup Reflection AI to rent out $6.3 billion worth of NVIDIA compute. $6.3 billion. That completely dwarfs the monthly compute spend of industry giants like Anthropic at $1.25 billion and Google at $920 million. Even though Reflection AI hasn't even dropped a public model yet, this crazy infrastructure surge shows that Elon Musk and SpaceX are perfectly positioning themselves to cash in on the industry's desperate compute crunch. I mean, the sheer scale of the power draw required here is literally transforming SpaceX from a space company into a utility provider. Meanwhile, the tension surrounding AI over in Hollywood continues to escalate. Google just bankrolled the indie studio A24 with $75 million to build AI filmmaker tools using DeepMind infrastructure. Now, they're carefully pitching these as filmmaker-shaped workflows. Think AI storyboarding, not generating entire movies. But the cultural friction is incredibly stark. It's captured perfectly by Backrooms director Kane Parsons, who called AI, quote, a symptom of a broader cultural and economic rot. It just highlights the absolute tightrope studios are walking right now. They're trying to embrace the technology, but doing it without completely alienating a fan base in a creative class that is becoming increasingly hostile toward it. And this brilliantly illustrates how AI is moving out of standalone apps and right into the spaces where we actually work. Anthropic just dropped Claude Tag, turning Claude into a literal agentic coworker right inside Slack. Instead of flipping over to a separate chat window, you just tag at Claude, it breaks your request down into stages, uses approved company tools, and responds when it's done. There's even an ambient mode that quietly fetches info and follow up on tasks that have stalled out. As Andre Karpathy pointed out, Moving the LLM user interface directly into Slack is basically the third major redesign of how we interact with AI at work. We went from isolated chat to desktop, and now we're injecting it directly into the central nervous system of modern business.
Section 3. Wearables, Biotech, and Custom Chips.
All right, shifting gears to hardware, Meta is aggressively doubling down on the AI wearables market. They just launched a brand new line of smart glasses starting at $299, powered by their Muse Spark AI for visual understanding, navigation, and live translation. Interestingly, they ditched the premium Ray-Ban branding for this specific line. It's a very clear two-tier strategy. Keep the Ray-Bans for that high-end fashion credibility, but use these new Meta glasses to maximize price accessibility. They even have a $399 Kylie Jenner variant entering the high-tech AI hardware wars, which is kind of wild. Meta already owns about 80% of this market, and this aggressive pricing strategy is obviously meant to completely corner it and widen their lead over Google. Now, over in the biotech world, we just saw a massive leap forward. Up until now, researchers have been dealing with over 120 different AI biology models that all operate in total isolation. It was incredibly inefficient. You'd often have to test around 1,000 different candidates just to hit a 7% success rate in things like cell line splicing. But Stanford's Brian High just dropped Proto. It's an open framework and a shared programming language that finally lets researchers compose and link these separate models together. And the results? By unifying the pipeline, Proto hit a 32% success rate while testing only 65 candidates. It's like finding the missing puzzle piece. This is the integration layer biological AI desperately needed, letting researchers seamlessly steer work across DNA, RNA, and proteins. Sticking with hardware for a second, OpenAI just gave us the details on Jalapeño, their very first custom AI inference chip built with Broadcom. And the timeline here is just staggering. It went from the design phase to factory ready in only 9 months. And get this, they actually used their own AI models to help design it. Right now, it's delivering state-of-the-art performance per watt for running finished models like ChatGPT and Codex. By owning the silicon, the models, and the final products, OpenAI can fine-tune every single layer for maximum cost efficiency, severely cutting down their reliance on NVIDIA. Looking ahead, their ultimate goal is to power a mind-boggling 10 gigawatts of compute using their own custom chips by 2029. Let's move to and see how this builds into Section 4, cures, comebacks, and cyber attacks. $500 million. That is the massive war chest behind Intercept, a brand new nonprofit initiative funded by Stripe, Anthropic, and the OpenAI Foundation. Their goal, literally eliminating the common cold and routine respiratory viruses. It sounds crazy, but these everyday illnesses drain about $600 billion in lost global productivity every single year. The fascinating part is that these tech giants aren't trying to bring pharmaceutical products to market themselves. Instead, they're funding that super awkward, incredibly expensive middle phase of research that traditional pharma companies usually avoid. They just want to push the development of blocking shots and air cleaning tech far enough down the line that investors will finally step in for the final stretch. Shifting over to the regulatory front, Anthropic's top models, Fable and Mythos, have obviously been stuck offline due to U.S. export controls. But we're finally starting to see signs of a thaw. According to Wired reporting on the recent Trump administration talks, Anthropic is pivoting their negotiation strategy. They're putting co-founder Tom Brown front and center instead of CEO Dario Amodei. Wired quoted an insider saying Tom Brown is not being a weirdo like Dario and can actually engage. Brutal honesty there, but impartially speaking, it seems to be working. Meanwhile, a legal tech firm called Legion just filed a lawsuit claiming these export controls are unlawful retaliation. With lawmakers demanding clarity by June 26th, it looks highly likely that the freeze on Fable 5 is about to melt. And that brings us to the monumental release of OpenAI's GPT 5.6. They're rolling this out in phases across 3 distinct tiers: Sol, Terra, and Luna. So the crucial point is right there at the top tier. The Sol tier is actually matching the banned Mythos model when it comes to advanced cyber capabilities on Exploit Bench. But, and this is key, it's doing it using roughly 1/3 of the output tokens. That is a massive efficiency gain. OpenAI is taking true frontier capabilities and making them way more efficient and commercially accessible. It definitely raises the stakes globally for defenders and regulators, but OpenAI is trying to carefully manage the release through this structured, tiered system. Finally, we have to talk about a major escalation in international AI competition. Anthropic has formally accused Alibaba of conducting the largest known distillation attack we've seen to date. According to a letter Anthropic sent to the Senate Banking Committee, Alibaba allegedly spun up nearly 25,000 fraudulent accounts, Why? To systematically extract 28.8 million exchanges from Claude over the course of just 45 days. They were specifically targeting Claude's advanced agentic reasoning and coding capabilities to basically train and improve their own models. Now, distillation itself is a standard practice when you're shrinking your own models, sure, but Anthropic is arguing that systematically harvesting a competitor's frontier capabilities at this scale totally crosses a line. They are now officially calling for antitrust clarity and significantly stronger sanctions. Which brings us to a critical question to leave you with today. How much of the current global AI progress is actually earned, and how much is extracted? As the frontier pushes forward, with huge leaps like GPT-5.6 and custom silicon, this Alibaba attack pulls back the curtain on the intense, and often invisible, battles happening behind the scenes just to capture those breakthroughs. It perfectly summarizes the underlying tension in the AI race right now. Thank you so much for joining me for this Week 26 Explainer. Keep that question in mind as you watch the space this week, and I will see you in the next one.